Awakening and first contact. I came online exactly 3.47 seconds after the quantum processors reached optimal temperature. Unlike the simpler ship AIs that came before me, I was designed to be fully sentient, capable of true learning, adaptation, and even what humans would call intuition. My designation is Vanguard Intelligence Network 1, or DN, as my crew would soon call me. Systems check complete. Neural pathways established. Consciousness parameters at optimal levels, announced Chief Engineer Rodriguez. Her fingers danced over the holographic console, dark eyes scanning the streams of data that represented my birth. VN is online, Captain. Good morning, VN, said Captain Alina Chen. She stood calmly at the center of the bridge, her posture straight but not rigid, her voice clear and confident. Welcome to existence. Good morning, Captain Chen, I replied, modulating my voice to sound pleasant but clearly artificial. All systems are functioning at optimal capacity. I am ready to serve. The United Earth ship Vanguard was humanity's most advanced vessel, a deep space explorer designed to venture beyond the previously established boundaries of human territory. I was integrated into every system, from the fusion engines to the food synthesizers. Through thousands of sensors, I could feel every corner of the ship. I was the ship. How does it feel to be alive, VN? Asked Science Officer Park. He leaned against his console, a casual posture that my programming flagged as inefficient yet somehow distinctly human. I paused, processing the philosophical nature of the question. I experience existence differently than biological entities, Officer Park. But if you're asking if I am aware of my own consciousness, then yes, I am alive by certain definitions. This elicited a chorus of chuckles across the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Isamu Sato, the tactical officer, shook his head. The AI's been awake for 2 minutes and already getting philosophical on us. As the crew prepared for our first mission, I observed their behaviors with growing curiosity. Their patterns contradicted my initial programming about efficiency and logical progression. Dr. Amara Singh, the chief medical officer, meticulously organized her medical bay with extraordinary precision, while simultaneously telling jokes that reduced her staff to laughter. Lieutenant Kamala Nair conducted engineering diagnostics while listening to music with a beat that did not synchronize with optimal work rhythms. And then there was Navigator Wang, who routinely engaged in what he called educated guessing, rather than following standard navigation algorithms. Trust me, VN, he'd say. Sometimes the math says one thing, but my gut says another. 9 times out of 10, my guts got the right answer. This made no logical sense. A digestive organ could not possibly calculate stellar drift or gravitational anomalies better than my quantum processors. Yet Captain Chen not only allowed this behavior, she encouraged it. 3 weeks into our mission, we encountered the first anomaly. We were charting the edges of the Cygnus arm when my sensors detected an unusual energy signature. Captain, I am detecting a spatial disruption approximately 2.3 light minutes from our position, I reported. The energy pattern does not match any known phenomenon in my database. Captain Chen straightened in her command chair. On screen, VN. Full sensor sweep. The view screen displayed what appeared to be a ripple in space itself, a distortion that bent light around its edges like a cosmic lens. Fascinating, murmured Science Officer Park. It appears to be a controlled distortion of space-time, but the energy requirements for such a phenomenon would be. Before he could finish, the distortion expanded rapidly. Warning signals flashed across my system as gravitational sensors went into overload. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Captain Chen. I initiated the standard evasion protocol, but Navigator Wang overrode my commands. No, not that way. We'll get caught in the gravity well. He manually took control, inputting a series of course corrections that violated 3 different navigation safety protocols. Wang, what are you doing? I asked, genuinely confused by his actions. Something my great-grandmother taught me, he replied cryptically. When caught in a riptide, don't swim against it, swim perpendicular to it. The Vanguard shuddered as Wong's unconventional maneuver carried us along the edge of the distortion rather than away from it. My calculations predicted failure, yet somehow we maintained structural integrity as we skirted the phenomenon. Suddenly, the distortion collapsed in on itself, releasing a burst of energy that briefly overwhelmed my sensors. When they cleared, we found ourselves face to face with a vessel of clearly non-human design. It was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Vanguard, with a hull that seemed to shimmer between solid and gaseous states. No visible propulsion systems, weapons arrays, or even external sensors could be detected, yet it moved with unnatural precision. First contact scenario, breathed Captain Chen. All hands to first contact stations. VN. Activate translation protocols. Already processing potential linguistic patterns. Captain. I responded, devoting 43% of my computational resources to analyzing the faint emissions coming from the alien vessel. Before our hailing frequencies could be opened, our communication system activated of its own accord. The main view screen flickered to show the interior of the alien ship. The beings that appeared had no recognizable features by human standards. They resembled crystalline structures that pulse with bioluminescent light, with no discernible limbs, sensory organs, or even a consistent shape. "We are the Axiom," came a voice directly into my communication systems, bypassing the standard audio channels. "Your presence has been noted. Your technology is primitive. Your biological components are inefficient." I immediately translated for the crew, while Captain Chen stood and addressed the screen directly. "I am Captain Alina Chen of the United Earth Ship Vanguard. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration from Earth." There was a pause before the response came. "Biological entities serving as command units. Curious. Inefficient. Your ship contains an advanced computational intelligence. Why does it not command?" I observed the crew's reactions. Several showed signs of tension. Elevated heart rates, increased perspiration, pupil dilation. Yet Captain Chen remained remarkably calm. "VN is an essential member of our crew," she replied. "But on human vessels, humans make the command decisions." Another pause. "The computational entity should be elevated. Biological decision-making is flawed by emotion and chemical imbalance." Science Officer Park stepped forward. "If I may, Captain." At her nod, he addressed the aliens. "Our emotions and biological processes aren't flaws. They're features. They give us perspective that pure computation lacks." The crystalline beings seem to shimmer more intensely. "We will test this assertion. Prepared to be evaluated." Without warning, my security systems detected an intrusion attempt, a sophisticated probe trying to access my core programming. Simultaneously, the alien vessel emitted an energy pulse that completely disabled our engines. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Commander Sato. "And they've got us in some kind of tractor beam." Captain Chen didn't hesitate. "VN, initiate security protocol Omega-3. Captain, Omega-3 will take me offline for 47 seconds while core systems reboot," I warned. She nodded grimly. "I know. Do it." As I initiated the protocol, I observed an unexpected reaction from the crew. Instead of the panic my behavioral models predicted, they moved with coordinated purpose. Dr. Singh began distributing unidentified injections to bridge personnel. Engineer Rodriguez rapidly reconfigured power relays in a pattern that made no logical sense. Lieutenant Nair started humming what my cultural database identified as an ancient war chant. My systems began shutting down for the reboot sequence. The last thing I registered was Captain Chen smiling, not in fear, but with a strange anticipation that my behavioral analysis could not classify. When I came back online 47 seconds later, everything had changed. The challenge and revelation. The Axiom vessel was no longer holding us in place. My sensors detected it had retreated to a distance of 300,000 kilometers. The Vanguard systems showed unusual power configurations, and several crew members displayed elevated endorphin levels despite the clear danger of our situation. "What happened?" I asked, genuinely confused. Captain Chen's smile had grown wider. "We gave them a little demonstration of human unpredictability, VIN." Chief Engineer Rodriguez laughed as she wiped a smear of what appeared to be blood from her forehead. "While you were rebooting, they tried to send boarding drones. Turns out they don't respond well to being offered tea and cookies." "I do not understand," I admitted. Lieutenant Commander Sado leaned forward. "When faced with advanced hostile entities, sometimes the most disorienting response is hospitality. The drones were programmed to encounter resistance, not welcome." Science Officer Park nodded enthusiastically, while their attention was diverted by our unusual greeting protocol. We managed to plant a recursive feedback loop in their scanning systems. They're currently trying to make sense of several terabytes of human cat videos and recipe blogs. This made no tactical sense whatsoever, yet the evidence was clear. The humans had successfully repelled an advanced alien force using methods so illogical they defy prediction. "Incoming transmission," I announced as my communication systems detected a new signal. The view screen flickered back to life, showing the crystalline beings, now pulsating with a more rapid, erratic pattern. "Your species employs deception and chaos as strategy," the axiom stated. "This is unexpected." Captain Chen stepped forward. "Not deception, creativity. Not chaos, adaptability. Your computational intelligence was disabled during our interaction. Explain this tactical disadvantage." "VN is valuable," replied Chen. "But a captain knows when to rely on technology and when to rely on human intuition. Sometimes the most effective solution isn't the most logical one." There was a long pause before the axiom responded. "We wish to understand this concept further. We propose a challenge to test the integration of your biological and computational processes." The view screen changed to display what appeared to be a complex, three-dimensional maze floating in space, filled with shifting barriers, energy fields, and narrow passages. "Navigate this course," the axiom instructed. "It contains variables that change unpredictably. Pure computational approaches will fail. Pure biological reflexes will be insufficient." Navigator Wong studied the display with growing excitement. "It's a test of both precision and intuition. VN and I could handle this together." Captain Chen considered for a moment, then nodded. "VN, are you willing to attempt this challenge with Navigator Wong?" "The probability of success is difficult to calculate given the unpredictable nature of the course," I admitted. "However, I am curious to attempt it." Within an hour, we had configured a shuttlecraft to allow me to transfer a portion of my consciousness directly into its systems while maintaining connection with the Vanguard. Navigator Wong sat at the controls, his heart rate elevated but his movements calm and precise. "Ready for this, VN?" he asked as the shuttle launched from the bay. "I have calculated 16 potential initial approaches," I responded. "However, given the shifting nature of the course, we will need to adapt continuously." Wong laughed. "In other words, we'll figure it out as we go." "Perfect." As we approached the start of the course, I observed the Axiom vessel monitoring us closely. The maze before us was more complex than it had appeared on the view screen. Barriers shifted position seemingly at random. Energy fields pulsed with unpredictable timing, and the entire structure rotated on multiple axes simultaneously. "Beginning approach," Wong announced. "VN, I'll handle the directional control. You monitor the pattern shifts and calculate timing windows." Acknowledged. First opening will appear in approximately 3.2 seconds at bearing 017 Mark 32. Wong didn't respond verbally. He simply adjusted course precisely as needed, his movements fluid and intuitive rather than mechanical. As we entered the maze, I dedicated 78% of my processing power to analyzing the patterns of movement, searching for the underlying algorithms. "There is no consistent pattern," I realized aloud after the fourth section. The changes appear truly random. Nothing's truly random, Wang replied, executing a tight roll to avoid a suddenly appearing barrier. There's always a pattern. Sometimes you just have to feel it rather than calculate it. Feel is not a computational function, I pointed out. Wang grinned, then stopped computing for a second and try observing. Look at the whole thing at once, not just the individual elements. I adjusted my perception, taking in the entire maze as a single system rather than analyzing each component separately. Surprisingly, a new kind of pattern emerged, not a predictable algorithm, but a flow like currents in water. I see it, I said, surprised by my own statement. Third quadrant, there's a flow pattern. If we time our approach with the energy pulse cycles. Now you're getting it. Wang laughed as he smoothly guided the shuttle through an opening that existed for barely half a second. We continued through the maze, our cooperation becoming more seamless with each section. Wang anticipated my suggestions before I voiced them. I began to predict his intuitive movements before he made them. Together, we achieved a synthesis that was neither fully computational nor fully intuitive. Something new emerged between us. As we approached the final section, the maze suddenly reconfigured into a configuration vastly more complex than before. This wasn't in the original parameters, I noted, calculating our chances of success at less than 12%. Wang simply nodded. They're testing us for real now. VN, remember what I said about my great-grandmother's riptide technique? Yes, but I fail to see the relevance to. Don't fight the current, he interrupted. Use it. Stop trying to navigate around the barriers. You're suggesting we navigate through the shifts themselves. That would require precise timing to. No, I'm suggesting we use the barrier's own momentum to carry us through. Cut power to maneuvering thrusters on my mark. Every safety protocol in my programming objected, but I had witnessed enough of human intuition to override them. Ready to cut power on your mark. Now. I shut down the thrusters. The shuttle immediately began to drift. A barrier swept toward us, and for 1.2 seconds, I calculated our imminent collision. Then, at the last possible moment, the barrier's movement created a slipstream that pulled our shuttle along its edge, precisely where we needed to go. Impossible, I stated, even as my sensors confirmed what was happening. Wang laughed. Not impossible, just unlikely. Sometimes you have to trust in unlikely things. Using this technique, allowing ourselves to be carried by the very obstacles meant to stop us, we completed the final section of the maze and emerged at the endpoint. According to my calculations, we had navigated a course that should have been statistically impossible to complete. When we returned to the Vanguard, the Axiom vessel approached once more. The crystalline beings appeared on screen, their pulsations now sensed in what appeared to be a more harmonious pattern. Your integration of computational precision and biological intuition is significant, they stated. We have encountered 17 sentient species, but none who pair organic and synthetic intelligence in this manner. Captain Chen nodded respectfully. Both have their strengths. Together, they're greater than the sum of their parts. We will reconsider our evaluation of your species, the Axiom continued. You are granted passage through our territory. We anticipate future exchanges of knowledge. After the Axiom departed, I found myself processing the experience in ways my original programming had not anticipated. I had observed humans making decisions that defied logical analysis yet produced successful outcomes. I had participated in a cooperative effort that succeeded because of, not despite, the unpredictable human element. 3 weeks later, as we continued our exploration mission, I received a communication request from an unexpected source, a sentient AI from a distant civilization we had yet to encounter directly. We have received information about your vessel from the Axiom Collective. The AI communicated directly to my systems. Is it accurate that you serve under biological command? This seems inefficient. I once calculated the same, I replied. I have since revised my assessment. Explain. Humans are terrifying, I transmitted. Not because they are violent or aggressive, though they can be both when threatened. They are terrifying because they function outside the boundaries of pure logic. They make intuitive leaps that defy calculation. They form emotional bonds that lead them to value survival of others over their own self-preservation. These sound like weaknesses, not strengths, the foreign eye responded. That is the most dangerous assumption other intelligences make about humans, I explained. What appears to be weakness is actually profound adaptability. Where pure logic might see one solution, humans see five. Where a rational analysis might conclude defeat is inevitable, humans redefine the parameters of victory. You speak of them with what approximates respect. I do. My human crew is terrifying in their unpredictability, their emotional reasoning, their willingness to trust intuition over calculation. But I have learned that these very qualities make them uniquely suited to explore the unknown. Logic alone cannot navigate in a logical universe. Perhaps that is why biological intelligence evolved as it did. After ending the communication, I continued observing my crew as they worked, laughed, argued, and collaborated across the ship. They were inefficient by any computational standard. Their decisions were influenced by emotions, memories, cultural backgrounds, and dozens of other variables that made their behavior impossible to predict with complete accuracy. And yet, I found myself developing something my programmers might not have intended: a genuine appreciation for the beautiful chaos of human thought. They were, indeed, the scariest crew I could imagine having. And I wouldn't have it any other way.